There's a special word we use for someone willing to sell out their country for profit to an enemy. It is traitor. There's another term emerging as well. It's called CCP Groomer. These are people who sell out American liberty in exchange for special privileges while the rest of the world falls to Chinese tyranny. The term groomer is so appropriate. You ply the victim with praise and promise only to prepare that victim for slavery. We see a lot of groomers working for the Chinese Communist Party today. Now, don't get me wrong, the Chinese people are victims too. The Chinese are a magnificent people and worthy of honor. The Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, not so much. These are elitists. Some are called princelings. There may be at most 5,000 families in China that are privileged. And of those, a couple dozen who run everything. It is like an international criminal cartel. Everyone else is a victim. The wealth disparity in China from top to bottom is enormous and it's evil. What's worse, many of the wealthiest in our country want to adopt the Chinese model. Those are the elites here, and they're selling you out to fund the Chinese ascendants. Remember, President Joe Biden had told us not to worry about China. Come on, man. I did a video and wrote a blog on this 3 years ago. We now know from the Hunter Biden laptop just how co-opted the Biden family really is in Russia, Ukraine, and especially China. A couple of years ago, we joined a courageous group of patriots and stood up to China in regard to investments. We called out Chinese fraud in our stock market and the special deal that Chinese companies have been given in the Obama-Biden years. We told you about the evils of the thrift savings plan efforts to fund China. Can you imagine our own national pension plan for government workers and the military has been asked to invest in communist Chinese companies, some of which were developing weapons aimed at our patriotic service members. We did a special episode on that, and we're part of the team that stopped that. We got federal findings. We had a mass petition. We had Larry Kudlow write an official letter from the White House denouncing it. We encouraged the Secretary of Labor, Scalia, to kill that entire terrible idea, and he did. After all, why should we fund our own demise? That's nuts. And yet, believe it or not, here we are again. The thrift savings plan is again attempting a backdoor to take pensions from government employees, including the military, and invest in communist Chinese companies. Does that make you mad? It should, but it's only half the equation. At the same time you've been funding the ascendance of China, you've also been funding the destruction of America through woke investing. Don't think it an accident that the big Wall Street firms are pushing woke investing via ESG. If you're new to the Economic War Room, you may not know what ESG is. If that's the case, go back and watch episodes 165, 166, and 167. But here's a primer. Wall Street is demanding that American companies go woke. They're voting your stock holdings to make certain Disney goes woke, and Coca-Cola, and Hasbro, and Delta. The reason that executives in these once great American companies are all super woke is Wall Street using your money. These companies, they seem to be standing against family values. They support critical race theory. Do they hate American energy development? Wall Street elected 3 members to the ExxonMobil board who want to end the use of fossil fuels. They're fully aware that this would hurt consumers and bankrupt the company they lead. These are zealots. What's worse is that Wall Street firms are pushing ESG, but they have no problem supporting China with investments. Remember, the concept of ESG is supposedly to protect the environment, promote social justice, and provide good governance. Never mind that ESG doesn't really do those things. What it really does is disadvantage American companies with woke requirements. And yet, amazingly, China is terrible at E, S, and G. They're the worst polluter on the planet, the nation that represses its people with social credit scores and slave labor, where governance is solely for the benefit of the CCP. Thus, Wall Street is corrupted and totally hypocritical to push ESG on America and yet exempt China. We've explained this in detail before. The net result is elites are hurting America and helping China. They're selling us out. This is why we call these people traitors and CCP groomers. Are you mad enough yet? We did a show with Frank Gaffney titled, I'm Mad as Hell and I'm Not Going to Take It Anymore, based on that movie Network from the 1970s where people went out, opened the window and shouted, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. That film debuted in 1976. People were mad because their country was being sold out then. Gas prices were through the roof, if you could even get gasoline. Jimmy Carter became president, told us, put on a sweater if you're cold. Don't heat your house. We couldn't afford to heat our homes. He dethroned the Shah in Iran, and the Ayatollah then oversaw the taking of American hostages. The elite told us that we must slowly surrender to the Soviets. People got mad and they said, not on my watch. The elites were selling us out, and the people put a stop to that nonsense with the election of Ronald Reagan.